these cosmic misfits always get the job done, although not always in the most graceful way.
Oh yeah? Ever get hit by a laser beam?
More like dozens of laser beams.
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 facts about the Guardians of the Galaxy.
So, what are we? Heroes or outlaws?
Why can't we be both?
For this list, we'll be focusing more on facts about the Guardians surrounding both the comic books and film franchises.
Hey, you know what? There's another name you might know me by. Star-Lord.
Who?
Star-Lord, man. Legendary outlaw.
Number 10, it took 21 years for the Guardians to get their own comic book. Yeah, the Guardians weren't exactly overnight sensations. They first pop up in a 1969 issue of Marvel Superheroes. This was a comic that was kind of a tryout for a new series. If there was a big reader response, something that was tried out here would get its own comic.
You're alive, cousin me. I will find you. I will put a bounty on it.
If they didn't, well, they ended up like the Guardians did, drifting around from one Marvel comic to another until they found their niche or disappeared. Finally, in 1990, the gang finally received their own self-titled comic. It had a healthy 62-issue run before being canceled in 1995. After that, though, not a lot of action for another decade or so.
If you kill me now, you are saying goodbye to the biggest score you have ever seen.
Number 9, they weren't part of the main Marvel universe until 2008.
By the Spires of Asgard, the Guardians of the Galaxy.
So, like any good superhero publisher, Marvel has lots of different universes with alternate pasts, presents, and futures. Earth 616 is one that houses the official Marvel universe. If something happens that later doesn't fit the continuity, it's said to have happened in another one of the universes. Pretty convenient, huh? That's the case with the Guardians. Their adventures from 1969 up until their revival in 2008 were determined to have happened in the timeline belonging to Earth 691. Until, of course, they were finally allowed to join the main 616 universe.
Pair up, one from each team.
Think we already did.
Me and you, don't get in my way.
Number 8, none of the Guardians in the movie were in the original comic book team.
Gamora, surgically modified and trained as a living weapon. The adopted daughter of the mad titan Thanos.
Moviegoers who fell in love with the wacky Peter Quill, verbally challenged Groot, and the rest of the Guardians crew are in for a shock if they go back to the original 1969 gang. None of the movie's Guardians were part of the first story, or any of those Guardian stories for quite a few years. Based in the 31st century, the first team of Guardians were led by an Earthling named Major Vance Astro. His partners were Martinex Tanaga, a being whose body was made of crystal, Captain Charlie 27 of Jupiter, and a blue-skinned dude who we'll get to later on. None of them made it onto the big screen, but they're still fun to hang out with if you're ever in the 31st century.
What a bunch of a-holes. Transport all four to the kiln.
Number 7, they were the rebels of the 31st century.
For the record, I advised against trusting you here.
They got my dick message.
Prove me wrong.
The Marvel Universe is a pretty contentious place even in the present, with hostile races like the Kree, Skrulls, and all sorts of aliens fighting across numerous galaxies. By the 31st century, the reptilians known as the Badoon are making major inroads into controlling, well, just about everything. When the Guardians first get together, it's with the intention of taking on the Badoon, making them kind of like the rebel forces of Star Wars.
Then man your ships, and may the Force be with you.
And just like those rebels, the Guardians may be small in number, ridiculously small really, but they could still kick evil's ass around the block a few times, especially when other Marvel heroes step in to help, of course.
I hope our teams cross paths again.
No doubt, though I'm still not sure about your tactics.
Number 6, Yondu was one of the original Guardians. So, none of the original Guardians were a Guardian in the movie, but one of them made an appearance in a different function. In the film, Peter Quill was kidnapped as a young boy by Yondu, an alien from Alpha Centauri. On screen, Yondu led a band of Ravagers, a gang of intergalactic pirates, and he more or less treated Peter as his adopted son, at least until Peter crossed him, of course. But in the comics, Yondu was one of the 4 original Guardians of the Galaxy. The rest of Yondu's species were destroyed by the power-hungry Badoon, which gave Yondu a good reason to join with the original Guardians and bring them down. Number 5, Rocket originally had a British accent.
Military tactical genius meets military screw-up. You do the math.
Rocket Raccoon has been popular both in comics and in the movie, but there are some big differences between how he's portrayed in each medium. For example, In the comics, Rocket was originally one of many intelligent animals taking care of a planet full of mental patients. He was their security officer, of course, that makes sense. But more importantly, Rocket in the pages didn't have the same distinctive snarly voice pattern that Bradley Cooper gave him in the movie.
Let's make something clear. This one here's our booty. You want to get to him, you go through us.
No, Rocket's dialogue was originally British and even Cockney in some instances. Well, you know, since he was named after a character in a Beatles song, it makes sense, sorta.
Let's go to Half-World and have somebody experiment on you for a change.
Number 4, Groot used to be a villain.
I am Groot! Get off or get smashed, toothpick!
The tree-like hero Groot was the breakout character of the 2014 movie, despite his somewhat limited dialogue, which Vin Diesel claims he recorded over 1,000 times. But in the original comic, Groot originally had a much more expansive vocabulary and no trouble with expressing himself.
We are Groot.
His origin precedes any of the original Guardians, going all the way back to 1960. And in that story, Groot wasn't a friendly lunkhead. He was an alien being who came to Earth to capture humans. Why? Well, to study them so he could figure out how to conquer Earth. What else? We're glad he had a change of heart somewhere along the way, though.
Get out of here.
Number 3, the dog in the astronaut suit in the movie was technically a Guardian. When the Guardians were rebooted in 2008, it introduced the heroes that would comprise the team in the film version. Later on, the comic introduced a cosmic, telepathic dog named Cosmo, who has a sometimes contentious relationship with Rocket. Don't ask.
Wait, what am I running for? Shield, Fido! Unless you want to get housebroken.
In the comics, Cosmo tends to hang out on Nowhere, with a K, the giant disembodied head that serves as the Guardian's base. In the movie, Nowhere is the base for the Collector's operations. Again, in the comics, Cosmo handles security for the Guardians, and he does a pretty good job, because he's a good boy. In the first movie, he makes a couple of cameo appearances as the dog in the spacesuit who's been captured by the Collector. And why Howard the Duck dislikes him is anyone's guess.
What do you let it lick you like that for? Gross.
Number 2, Drax was originally a real estate agent with a saxophone. You wouldn't know it by looking at him, but the mighty Drax the Destroyer originally was a humble little earthling named Arthur Douglas. A real estate agent with a fondness for the saxophone, Douglas had the misfortune of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The evil Thanos snuck onto Earth and, thinking Douglas had seen him, killed him. But Thanos' father, thinking his son really needed to be taught a lesson, grabbed Arthur's spirit and put it in a new body. He was renamed Drax the Destroyer and given the mission to hunt down Thanos and totally, well, you know, destroy him. Number 1, Peter Quill may have been conceived without sex.
You're so like your daddy. You even look like him.
When Star-Lord burst onto the scene in 1976, his origin story drew a parallel between his birth and that of Jesus Christ. In the first 2 pages, writer Steve Englehart proposed that the planets of the solar system all lined up in a special way on the day that Jesus was born. And guess what? They lined up in exactly the same way when Peter Quill was born. Now, Quill's mother wasn't exactly a virgin, but the story implies that Peter's conception was due to the planet's alignment, not any human involvement. In later versions, Peter's father turned out to be an alien, but in the beginning, it was much more mystical in nature.
Hey, Dad. Don't get mad, but I think I might have started a teensy little war.
So, do you agree with our choices? What other cool facts about the universe-spanning Guardians of the Galaxy should we have included?
Technically, Cosmo not talk. Communicate telepathically.
For more enthralling top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
It has given us a chance.
To do what?
To give a shit.